It's a race against the clock for a Rotterdam farm fighting to save an important piece of their history and American history. Officials say the brick house at the Maybe farm is on the brink of collapse, in need of the community's help to stay standing. I took a trip out to the farm to find out why it's so critical that their chapter of history lives on. On this quiet farm in Rotterdam sits more than 100 years worth of history. History that for some is painful to recount.
A lot of people don't really associate upstate New York with slavery, but here at the Maybe farm, for over 100 years, there were enslaved people who lived and who were responsible for, kind of making this farm what it was.
Built in the 1760s, the brick house was used to house black slaves who lived at Maybe farm.
You can see that there's a ladder that would have led down to the basement.
It stands as one of the few structures in the state directly linked to the experiences of those enslaved.
Because they didn't leave great written records, or really any written records, the home that they lived in, the building, the physical structure is the most, it's the best way we can kind of tell their story.
While the property owner's extended family lived up here, the slaves lived down below. So now we're stepping into the basement, and down here is where the enslaved people lived. Mary Zawacki with the Schenectady County Historical Society says it was in this small, dark basement where slaves lived and worked on Maybe farm for many years. Sleeping, eating, existing on these dirt floors with only a makeshift fireplace to cook or keep warm.
At least upstairs you have a wood floor to sleep on. It's not just dirt like this.
And so I would imagine it would get pretty cold down here.
It would definitely get very cold and definitely very damp also. This is not a place that anyone would want to spend an extended period of time.
Mary and the Historical Society, however, spending an extended period of time compiling records for about 13 of the slaves that lived here.
We have Sam, we have Cato, we have Jack, we have a woman named Bate, and we have a child who's just simply listed as child. We do have one story of a young man who did try to self-emancipate in the middle of the night. He took off from the farm, in search of freedom somewhere, and the Maybes put an ad in the newspaper to try to get him back, and we know that he was found and brought back here because we have records of him living here at a later date after that newspaper ad.
However, all of this history, the stories, triumphs, and tragedies of those who lived here are at risk of being erased forever. The brick house is in bad shape and needs a lot of repairs. The Historical Society putting quick fixes in place, but it's not enough. Architects and engineers say it's going to cost more than $70,000 in preservation work to save the building.
What do you hope people can take away from being able to come here and down here to really experience this?
So I think the first part is, educational, understanding that history. Of course, we all want to be aware of that history, but even bigger than that is having empathy. And we also want to make it a little bit easier for visitors to come down here, right? So you saw coming down those stairs was not easy.
Right.
We want people to come down here and see, really what was this home like for those people.
Mary says she would hate to see the doors close on this place permanently and hopes speaking out now will help keep the stories and this house alive.
I think it's really important because it does shed some light on those stories that are very often overlooked.
The Historical Society also says they believe a large Negro cemetery once existed on the property. They are still working to locate that. For more information about the brick house and ways you can help, visit the story at CBS6Albany.com.